You're sitting in your car after work, engine still running, and you open your investment app. Not because anything exciting happened, just because it's been a few months and you feel like you should. The number staring back at you is $187,000. You've been doing this for 8 years. You've said no to things. You've made the boring choices. You've watched friends upgrade their apartments and lease new SUVs while you just kept contributing. And somehow, $187,000 still doesn't feel like anything. So you close the app, go inside, and quietly wonder if you're ever actually going to get there. My name is Nico, and today we're going to talk about the one investment milestone that changes everything, and almost nobody knows it exists. Not the first $100,000, not the $500,000, not even the $1 million mark everyone obsesses over. Today we're talking about the $250,000 milestone. And by the time we're done, you're going to look at your financial journey in a completely different way. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you get something out of this video, a quick thumbs up helps more people find it. Takes literally 2 seconds. Alright, let's start with some real context, because you need to understand where most people actually stand. According to Federal Reserve data, the median American retirement account sits around $87,000. The median, meaning half the country has less than that saved for retirement right now. If you're in your 30s or early 40s with 6 figures invested, you are already performing significantly better than the average. But here's the brutal truth nobody prepares you for. You can do everything right, you can contribute consistently, you can stay patient, and still feel like you're going nowhere. That feeling is real, and it happens because nobody tells you about the specific threshold that changes the entire math. That threshold is $250,000. Let me explain what actually happens at $250,000 that doesn't happen anywhere below it. Assume a 10% average annual return, roughly what the S&P 500 has historically averaged over long rolling periods. At $250,000, your portfolio is generating approximately $25,000 per year just from returns. That's $2,083 a month. That's a part-time salary. That's more than many full-time minimum wage take-home paychecks in most states. And you didn't clock a single extra hour for it. Now consider this. The average American who's actively building their retirement account contributes somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000 a year. Which means at $250,000, your money is generating 3 to 5 times what your contributions are adding. You've crossed a line. You've gone from I'm building wealth to wealth is building itself. And that's the crazy part that nobody tells you about. Here's where it gets really interesting. I want you to think of your investment portfolio like a rocket trying to leave the atmosphere. Below $250,000, you are the engine. Your monthly contributions are doing the heavy lifting. Compounding is happening, but it's slow. You are working hard to push that rocket upward. The moment you cross $250,000, your money reaches a kind of escape velocity. Your annual returns start pulling harder than your contributions are pushing. By $500,000 at 10%, your portfolio is generating $50,000 a year on its own. That's a solid full-time salary, all while you sleep. Your contributions at that point are almost a bonus. And that is a fundamentally different relationship with money than most people ever experience. So why doesn't anyone talk about $250,000 specifically? Because we've been trained to chase the numbers that sound impressive. Charlie Munger famously said the first $100,000 is the hardest. He was right about the difficulty, but he wasn't giving you the complete picture. The $1 million mark is the finish line everyone imagines, but $250,000 is the quiet inflection point. It's the threshold inside the bigger threshold, and the people who know about it protect that number with a different level of intensity because they understand what crossing it actually unlocks. Now let me show you the math with 2 real people, because numbers only hit home when there's a human story attached. Meet Marcus. He's 35 years old, earns around $74,000 a year, has been contributing steadily to his 401k since his mid-20s, and just quietly hit $250,000. He doesn't feel rich. His car is a 2018 Honda Accord with 90,000 miles on it. His apartment is perfectly fine, nothing Instagram worthy. Nobody congratulated him at dinner. He just crossed a line that most people never reach, and he did it without anyone noticing. Now meet Derek. Derek earns about the same as Marcus, but Derek made a series of choices that felt completely reasonable at the time. At 28, he financed a $44,000 truck. Payment was $680 a month. At 30, he upgraded to a nicer apartment downtown, only $350 more per month, which seemed manageable. At 32, he and his girlfriend took a $10,000 trip to Europe. Incredible experience. Zero regrets in the moment. But Derek is sitting at $68,000 saved at age 35. Not zero. Derek is not irresponsible. He has a 401k. He thinks about his future. He just never let his balance build the kind of momentum that breaks through the threshold. Now let me show you the math. And I want to be conservative here. I'm using a 7% real return to account for inflation and the realistic ups and downs of market cycles. Marcus at 35, $250,000. At 7% with absolutely no additional contributions, just that $250,000 sitting and compounding for the next 28 years until age 63, it grows to approximately $1.66 million. If he keeps contributing just $500 a month during that same period, he finishes around $2.15 million. Derek at 35, $68,000. At 7%, over those exact same 28 years with no additional contributions, his balance grows to about $452,000. If he also contributes $500 a month going forward, he finishes around $936,000. And here's the math is brutal part. Both men invested. Both were somewhat responsible. Both contributed the same amount per month after age 35. But the retirement gap between them is over $1.2 million. And that entire gap, every single dollar of it, came from choices made before the age of 35. The truck, the apartment, the trip, none of those things made Derek's life dramatically better in the long run. But they kept his portfolio from reaching the one threshold that would have bent the entire curve of his financial life. At a 4% withdrawal rate in retirement, which is a standard benchmark, Marcus draws about $86,000 a year. Derek draws about $37,000. Both contributed for 30 plus years. Both worked hard. But Derek's retirement looks like a budget. Marcus's retirement looks like options. That's not a metaphor. That's the actual math. Now let's go deeper on the psychology, because this is where I think the real damage happens. There's a specific emotional trap that hits somewhere between $80,000 and $200,000. You've been grinding, you've been consistent, you've been patient, and then you check your balance and you run a quick mental calculation. If I have $160,000 and I need $1 million to retire comfortably, I'm only 16% of the way there. It feels like standing at the base of a mountain and looking up. And so something shifts, quietly, unconsciously, the urgency fades, a car upgrade happens that wouldn't have happened 2 years earlier. The extra contributions slow down, the balance plateaus, and this happens not because people are lazy or irresponsible. It happens because we're wired to measure our progress against a destination, not against a threshold. We know the million. We can't feel the $250,000 inflection point we're just a few years away from reaching. And then there's the withdrawal trap, which is arguably even more costly than lifestyle creep. Someone reaches $210,000 or $225,000 and they pull money out for something that genuinely feels justified. A kitchen renovation, a down payment boost, a business idea that feels urgent. The account drops from $220,000 back to $140,000, and they tell themselves they'll put it back, but those years of compounding don't come back, and that's the cost most people never actually calculate. Let me put a real number on it. Jordan has $220,000 saved and decides to pull $70,000 for a home renovation, bringing his balance down to $150,000. On the surface, it's a $70,000 decision, but Jordan isn't just spending $70,000. At 7% return over 25 years, $220,000 grows to roughly $1.19 million. $150,000 grows to about $814,000. The gap between those two numbers is $380,000. Jordan's renovation didn't cost $70,000. It cost $380,000 in future wealth, and it pushed him back below the threshold just as he was getting close. But here's the part that will blow your mind. That's the calculation Jordan never ran. He knew the sticker price. He didn't know the compounding cost. And when you don't know the real number, you can't make a real decision. Which brings me to the objection I know is forming in your head right now. Nico, you can't just freeze your money for 30 years and never actually live. And I completely agree. I'm not telling you to never renovate your home or never upgrade your car. What I'm telling you is that most people who make these decisions have never run the full math. They know the $70,000. They've never seen the $380,000. They've never watched what happens when you pull yourself back below the inflection point right when you were about to cross it. Once you run that number, once you actually see it, you might still choose the renovation. That's a valid choice, but you're making it with open eyes, not blind. That's the difference between someone who's financially free and someone who's constantly wondering why they can't get ahead. Now let me bring this all the way home because this is the part one want you to actually feel. Marcus hit $250,000 at 35 and just kept going. Nobody threw him a party, nothing felt different from the outside, but invisibly the math fundamentally changed. By 45, with continued $500 a month contributions, he's approaching $800,000. By 55, he's looking at $1.5 million. By 63, he's at $2.15 million, pulling about $86,000 a year in retirement at a 4% withdrawal rate. Marcus's biggest financial decision at 60 isn't can I afford to retire? It's when do I want to retire? That's the real value of what happened at $250,000. Not the number itself, the options it creates. Derek kept contributing after 35, lived well, enjoyed his life, and finished around $936,000. He'll have a retirement, it'll be okay. But at $37,000 a year in withdrawals, every major expense, a medical issue, a home repair, a trip, creates a small moment of anxiety that never fully goes away. And that's the gap that built silently, one truck payment and one apartment upgrade at a time, over about 7 years in his late 20s and early 30s. Here's what I want you to walk away with. The $250,000 milestone is not about vanity. It's not about reaching a number that sounds good at a dinner party. It's about crossing the specific threshold where your money's annual earnings start to dwarf your annual contributions. The point where compounding goes from a concept you read about to a force you can actually feel in your balance every single year. And if right now you're somewhere below that threshold, $90,000, $140,000, $195,000, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are in the build phase, the hardest, most unglamorous, least celebrated phase, but also the phase where every dollar you protect is seeding an exponentially larger version of itself down the road. The path from where you are to $250,000 is specific. It's real. It's not a fantasy number reserved for people with higher salaries or better luck. Someone starting from zero at 30 needs roughly $1,300 a month invested at 10% historical returns to hit $250,000 by 40. Someone with a $30,000 head start needs closer to $900 a month. These are hard numbers for a lot of people, but they're also specific, and specific is better than vague. Because now you have a target, not just a feeling that you should save more. Protect the threshold. Don't let a truck pull you back. Don't let a renovation reset the clock. And the next time you open your investment app and see $187,000 and feel like nothing is happening, remember that you are $63,000 from the inflection point, from the moment where the math permanently shifts in your favor. Because once you cross $250,000, something changes. Not in how people see you. Not in how your life looks from the outside, but in how the numbers work. Your money stops being something you take care of and starts taking care of you, quietly, relentlessly, every single morning while you're still asleep. If this gave you a new way to see where you are right now, drop a comment below. I read every single one and I genuinely want to know where you're at in the journey. And if you know someone in the build phase who needs to hear this, someone who's grinding and doubting themselves, share this video with them. It might be the most useful 5 minutes of their week. I'll see you in the next one.